Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Vinny's Take. Hold on while I push my hair out of the way because there's no barber shops open right now. Before I get started, I want to say a moment of peace, a moment of silence for another Green Bay Packer legend. Willie Davis passed away today at the age of 85. Okay, now I got a deep breath and let me talk to you about what's going on here in New York State. See, every day in New York State, our illustrious governor, Andrew Cuomo, who thinks himself very, I don't know what the word is, maybe professional, maybe political, maybe presidential, he thinks. I don't know. He gets up there and first and foremost, he reports the numbers and he talks about New York State as if it's everything lower of Westchester County and below. And he sets forth edicts and he sets forth rules to try and limit the spread of this COVID virus. But what he doesn't do is shut it down. There were people traveling on March 11th. The first NBA game was canceled. On March 13th, by March 13th, Friday, all sports had been canceled. New York State was shutting down. Essential businesses or non-essential businesses were being closed. But do you know that on March 13th in the Department of Corrections, on March 14th, in the Department of Corrections, inmate visitation occurred? What is inmate visitation? Well, for those who don't know or have never had the misfortune of going inside a correctional institution, it's when the public gets to go visit their family members. There are a lot of jails where it's every day of the week, and some is just mostly the weekends. Now, I am to understand that these visits are not like what you see on television, that they're actually sitting around basically a table. It's not like there's a window pane in between you and you're talking over telephone. Apparently, that's not real. That's Hollywood. What they say is real from my correction officer friends is that they're sitting around a table, one convict and his family sitting around a table talking. They get to touch, they get to hug, they get to kiss. I'm assuming it's not like no huge PDA, but they get to interact with their family or their loved ones. That occurred on March 14th. So a whole day after everything else was shut down in the state, shut down meaning non-essential businesses, visits still occurred. Now, why is this a problem? You say, well, here is the problem. When the epicenter of the outbreak was in lower New York City and on the 5 boroughs in the island, where the majority of the outbreak was. The majority of what coincides with, unfortunately, because there's so many people living in New York City, the population is so huge, there was also a high population of people from that area inhabiting New York State jails. Probably federal jails too that are in New York State, and probably county correction or county jails, I would assume. So when you have visitation, these people who live in New York City, their family comes to visit. Now, I'm not saying that New York City is a crime-ridden cesspool. It's not the 70s. They're not the only ones who have inmates who had visitation. The problem is that when the visitation occurs, let's say person A goes to visit family member B. Family member B resides in a correctional institution. Family member B, after the visit's over, then goes back to his wherever he is living inside the prison, and maybe he has a cellmate. Let's say cellmate C. Well, family member A was infected and didn't know it yet. So family member B, the resident of New York State's correctional institution, is now infected because he kissed his wife or whatever, and he goes back to his cell. And their inmate C shares a shower with, not at the same time, I imagine it's not one of those prisons, but perhaps the virus gets passed through that or through the bathroom somehow. Inmate C then goes to his job in the mess hall where he's cooking that night's meal, and he just infected the whole jail. You see how dangerous it is? Because you don't know. Well, anyway, that's in March. There were other things apparently going on with, I guess, moving one inmate from one jail to another that still continued for an extra 2 weeks. Oh, hold on a second. I got my dog is whining. Hey, Google, broadcast.
What's the message?
Hey, guys, can somebody take the dog out? Okay. So the next step after that
Now.
is to continue shutting more things down, like the barbershops, the salons, the restaurants, the golf courses. A golf course where nobody more than a foursome goes out at a time, and trust me, they're not more than 6 feet apart, except maybe at the tee and at the green at all. Those are shut down. Today, he gets up there and says it is mandatory for everybody in New York State as of this Friday to wear a mask and or face covering. I got mine. Not quite sure that's what he means, but that's what the wording is. No, seriously though, I don't have a problem with people getting masks and stuff to protect themselves. I don't. I think it's a good idea. But what is happening to our rights and freedoms in America? What is going on right now? What are we doing? Are we going to live in fear forever? Are we going to let this go on forever? We can't. At some point, we got to come out of this. And every day it seems that certain politicians want to shut down more and more and more. And eventually, you're going to have a serious problem because Americans aren't used to sitting around doing nothing. We're just not. So I say, let's step back and think about this before we continue to post and provoke your citizens. Yes, we want to stop the virus. Yes, we want to stay healthy. But at the same time, you cannot force Americans to do something they don't want to. I can understand workplaces saying if you're going to work here, you're going to wear a mask. If you're going to work here, you're going to punch in at a certain time. If you work here, you're not going to swear while you're working. You're not going to go out in public and talk on a television show bad mouthing the place you work. That's understandable. But at the same time, you cannot tell somebody that when you are taking your dog for a walk in a rural upstate New York, north of Toronto community that doesn't have any cases yet, that you got to wear a mask. Because guess what? Somebody's going to say no. And when somebody says no, more people are going to join in. So first of all, I'm pleading with people, take this serious. Don't go out and unwillingly spread a virus, spread a disease. Yes, I suggest you wear a mask, but leave it up to personal choice. Listen, I don't want to catch this virus. I'm going to wear a mask when I go out in public. There are 9 cases in the county I live in. Actually, there are not, because the number they're not telling you is recovered. There have been 9 positives, but there's only like 4 active cases right now. There are a bunch of people waiting for results to come back, and so we'll probably get another couple. But everybody, once you're tested, you're quarantined. You're quarantined in your house until your results come back negative. And then at that point, you still got to wait for the Department of Health to release you. So my question here is, well, when is the next step going to be to quarantine everybody? At what point are they going to come out and say, all right, now you have to have official paperwork to drive from point A to point B? At what point are they going to come out and say you're going to have to use your ID to prove that you are immune? Or because I've heard that talked about too. A lot of conspiracy theories going around, a lot of misinformation going on right now. People are going to panic. Mark my words, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see panic. So let's start thinking about what can we do to get our country back up and running. Thank you for joining me tonight. This short little rant. Sorry it wasn't sports related, but there isn't any sports to talk about right now. So we're going to talk about what's going on in the real world. Thank you. God bless America.